And welcome to the live stream, folks. We see a coronal mass ejection. We see all kinds of news stories that are super interesting. Cosmology stuff, a blank sun, solar minimum drags on. And we'll even feature a video from Mr. Westbrook, Ice Age farmer Christian Westbrook. So join me as I go through a whole bunch of data and then ramble about all kinds of things. That was the 171 angstroms view. Here's the 304 angstroms view. If you look in the northeast corner, you see a filament eruption there. That is the coronal mass ejection that we're talking about in the title. We also see some odd obscuring events happening here, such as this. If you have theories about what's causing that, please leave them in the comments. And let's move on, as there's a lot of stuff to cover today. We're going to look at the LASCO C2. You see a massive coronal mass ejection here, a very concentrated one, headed off to the northeast. I'll let that play through again so you can get a view of that as Venus swings around the backside of the sun. This particular coronal mass ejection happening very early this morning, so practically in real time there, folks. We'll look at the C3 also. And we're seeing data from July here, so let's just get off of that. Anyway, there's the current image. And you can see that coronal mass ejection, or the after effects of it, blowing out way out here. All right, let's move on here, as there is a lot of stuff to cover today. Here's a real-time solar wind, 4.04 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed continuing to ramp down here, down to 436 kilometers per second. Here's the ACE data. Looking pretty corroborative. We're going to skip cosmic rays. Here's where things are in the solar system. And there's where they'll be in 1 week. Next, we're going to look at magnetosphere movies, as we do most days. Pretty much every day. And we haven't missed a space weather video for well over a year, folks. First, we'll look at the density. And we do see some striations here in the density, at least according to the University of Michigan geospace model. And we'll also check out the pressure. And we see continued oddities here in the pressure, not corroborated in the solar wind. We don't really see these striations in the solar wind, indicating perhaps magnetic anomalies. Not sure what's causing all that, folks. Not sure on that one. Going to look at the geospace ground magnetic perturbations here. And we're going to talk about all kinds of crazy cosmology stuff in a minute. So stay tuned as we archive 4 hours of data of ground-based magnetic perturbations, of which there are significant ones. Again, not represented in the solar wind here. So it's looking a little bit on the anomalous side, wouldn't you say? Wow. Major perturbations there. Let's look at this from the pole view, as we see some severe oddities. Sun being obscured from the SDO. Oddities on the magnetosphere movies. Check it out. Magnetism all over the place, folks. Not really showing up in the GOES magnetometer either, so this is some anomalous data. Check it out. Major perturbations there. Let's swing that back. Right there. That one's occurring at 9:28 UTC. So just in the past, actually while I was doing show prep, which took about an hour today. So we see global scale magnetic pulses kicking off here. And not a huge difference between the North and South Pole. As current passes through your very face and the planet. Here's where stuff is above my head. And yeah, check out in-the-sky.org if you want to make your own sky map for what's going on above yours. Now, we've made our smAsho mission available at smashomash.com/forum/mission. So if you want to check that out or share it with your friends to see why we do the videos in the first place, please do. Thanks to our latest Patreon patron. Remember, if you become a patron, you will get updates before everybody else. Now, some of the stuff we put out very quickly, some of the stuff we put out on a delay, depending on the level of importance. Now, if you want to support the channel other ways, how about buy an MP3? Check out Gem Cutter, the latest upload available for $1.25 USD to add to your MP3 collection. The song you heard at the beginning of the video was Unified Theory 3, and yes, that is a physics reference. Also, if you're in the market for CBDs, check out the links below the video for the Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. We've got some extra sales going on here on the Kalki products, as well as the whole plant CBD hemp seed oil suspension, 1,000 milligram dosage. Again, hemplucid.com's spaced out campaign, specifically for our spaced out viewers. And we welcome our spaced out viewers to the live stream. Thanks for tuning in. Oi to you too, Shannon Parsons. X-ray flux is still flatlined. KP is at 1. Electron flux is looking a little more normal off of its very high levels where it's been, and even the relativistic electrons are not as high as they were a couple of days ago. There are the aurora forecasts. Borealis on the left, Australis on the right. About what you would expect, despite those major geomagnetic perturbations. Let's look at 6 hours of the ionosphere movies. I mean the ionosphere movie here, the ionosphere map, courtesy Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. We see some fairly high charge on the sun side at the beginning. And bringing it up to the latest image here, it's going to be at about 9:30 UT, and there's the final image, 9:15 UT. Ionosphere is looking fairly normal, a little discharge on the nighttime side. Here's a GOES magnetometer. We don't see wild spikes in this, surprisingly, which makes you ask yourself, where's all that current coming from? Now, here's the Gong 2 data. We see some serious activity going on the far side of the sun. You see these two areas here where these fields are suspended. That's probably sunspots, possibly 2 of them in succession there. One south of the equator and one north of the equator. So that'll be interesting to see. We'll be able to see those on stereo A shortly, which is located right here, by the way. And thanks to all of our new viewers and subscribers. For that, we thank you. And that is an homage to Daniel Tosh. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/smAshomash. You'll see stuff like our Peter Schiff posts, who says we're going back to QE and we're going into recession as the Fed is about to continue to cut rates, causing inflation on your US dollars as inflation starts to kick in around the world at the same time that food prices rise. If you were listening to us in February, you should still be listening to us now. If you follow us on Instagram, you might see some things you don't otherwise see, as we try to keep some exclusive content on all of the platforms. So Instagram.com/smAshomash. Also, we are on Twitter and on Gab, gab.com/smAshomash. And also on Minds, the future of social media, the open source social media that will not censor you. So check us out there as we put out exclusive content, again, on every platform. I guess we got a comment here regarding our Mummify Bernie post. Follow the hashtag Mummify Bernie. Also, if you haven't pressed like and subscribe for our YouTube channel, please do so, as it's our main content host at the current time. Let's talk about another YouTube channel. Christian Westbrook's Ice Age Farmer watched this video just a few hours ago, and it's inspiring us. Check it out. He's got the global warming badge of honor underneath his video there, as the internet continues to try to convince people that the planet is warming. A ridiculous notion. Let's play a clip. I'm just going to take a random spot here. Take it away, Christian, and do not demonetize us, YouTube, as we talk about these things regularly. Zimbabwe experiencing its worst hunger emergency.
There will be shortages. Yeah, anyway. And further speaking to that point, there are now mainstream bookies who are adding the odds of potato rations being introduced in the UK. So Paddy Power.
Anyway, watch the video. We'll put links in the description. I think there already is a link in the description. So check it out. Ice Age Farmer. Shout out Christian. Look us up on Skype. We need to do that interview. Pardon our lateness. We see a small uptick in earthquakes here, including one right near Hilo, Hawaii. Let's run down the list. This one occurring about 23 hours ago. A 5.4 at New Zealand. And this one is on land, so looks like Queenstown was hit. Please leave a comment if you felt that quake. All right, let's get through this list as quickly as possible, as there is a lot of stuff, including cosmology, to cover. So here's a 4.5 at Costa Rica, 4.1 in Turkey. Here's a 4.5 in Pakistan as the Middle Eastern quakes continue. A 4.8 at Indonesia, 4.5 at Hawaii. Again, right off the coast of Hilo. Please leave a comment if you've done the Ironman. All right. And let's keep this thing moving here. If I can click on stuff, I'd be very grateful. Thanks so much. Here's a Albanian quake, an odd spot there. Not too far from Greece, 4.4 magnitude. A 4.8 at Fiji, that one at extreme depth, 476 kilometers. 5.5 in Mexico. Here's a 4.5 in Chile. I say the main earthquake risk is right in this area. This one is at depth. That's the area where you're going to be seeing a larger quake at the surface, most likely, folks, as there is a low pressure and a massive pressure gradient moving into South America. So Western South America, that would be my biggest alert spot to end the 7.0 magnitude, 7+ magnitude earthquake drought, that is. 4.6 in China, a 4.7 in China in a different location there. 5.5 in the South Indian Sea. Looks like it's nowhere near any plate barriers. Let's take a look at the map on that one. And there's the location of that. Perhaps a plate boundary that's not listed as a plate boundary is located there. And let's move up the list. Here's a 4.0 in Greece. 4.9 at New Zealand. Looks like an aftershock of that 5.4. How about a 4.6 in the Philippines? That one's at depth, heads up there for a larger quake. 4.6 at Vanuatu, that one's also at depth. Another 5.2. This one out in the ocean rift, where they've been seeing a swarm of quakes there over the past several weeks. And a 4.3 at Kamchatka, and another deep quake at Chile. That's the warning zone, these two areas for South America, folks. If you're there, and you're actually listening to the video, please be prepared for a larger quake at the surface. As you see this low pressure system, it's pretty anomalous. And you've got a massive anticyclonic system right here over the entire southern portion of South America. So when this moves in, it's going to be a huge pressure gradient. Let's play about 24 hours of pressure data, courtesy windy.com's GFS model. Just let this advance. Again, massive pressure gradients there. Very high pressure on the land. And pretty low pressure out in the sea there near Easter Island. And we'll pause it right there. As those systems start to move around, that's going to increase the earthquake risk there, folks, as low pressures are associated with earthquakes. That's why people get hit at the same time as hurricanes. Let's do a volcano rundown at a breakneck speed. Karimsky, back on the list, exploding, producing a 10,000-foot ash plume. How about them apples? Mount Aso, still on the list. Possible activity continues. Ash cloud unknown. Now we use satellites to look at that, folks. Here's a new one on the list. Bagana in Papua New Guinea exploded and produced a 7,000-foot ash plume. As the explosive activity continues all around the world, Sanjiang Api, 10,000-foot ash plume there. Popocatépetl. Say it aloud. Say it aloud, folks. Popocatépetl. Popocatépetl, actually, is probably how it's pronounced. Popocatépetl. Anyway, 20,000-foot ash plume there. Please don't pole vault Popocatépetl. Fuego, small volcanic ash cloud moving west-southwest from there. Sangay, emissions not observed, yet still on the list for some freaking reason. Sabancaya, explosive activity continues there, producing a 24,000-foot ash plume. Please do not pole vault Sabancaya either. Nevado State Chilean, producing sporadic puffs. And let's continue on to look at Null School's jet streams. Let that play for a minute. Look at the meridional flow down there off the coast of South America. A more than 180-degree turn of the jet stream down there as hot air gets pulled from the equator, mixed up in the ocean there, deposited on South America. Northern Hemisphere jet stream, still extremely governed by convective forces. Let's look at the other side of the planet. Thanks for tuning in, all you down under viewers. We have a surprisingly low number of people in the stream today. So if you're watching this later, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share on your social media. As we cover things so much earlier than most other sources, sometimes it seems incoherent. If you don't believe us, watch our videos from a week ago and notice how all the stories that we've covered a week ago are now finally in the news. Let's refresh AccuWeather.com's Doppler radar. And there's a situation across the U.S. Moving on to the water vapor map for all you weather pornographers. There's a situation going on in the water vapor, courtesy of the NASA GOES interactive weather satellites. We'll let that play for a quick moment. Looks like some weather moving the wrong way there off the Gulf Coast of Florida, as well as some miserable storms in southern Missouri. Let's look at this convergence zone over Illinois, as it looks fairly violent, and we usually look at least one thing like this most days. So let's take a look at that real quick, as we see significant pressure gradients represented by the dark, the more dense dry air. We see some storm systems that are cannibalizing each other here, as things like electromagnetic fields run the weather, not carbon dioxide, and certainly not mankind, since humans cannot control the weather. Now we've moved on to the that's an ass and that's a hole in the ground section of the video, as this is vulgarity-free section. We're not going to talk too much about economics except to click on this article right here. The Fed could cut rates 6 times next year, says strategist. What does that mean? That means you are going to experience inflation, no matter what kind of fiat money you use, whether it's US dollars or euros or Australian dollars or yen or yuan or whatever you have, you're going to experience inflation. So at the same time food prices continue to rise, at least over the next year, we're going to see the worst harvest ever this year in the US. Australia has become a net importer of grain, and China is trying to find soybeans. Let's talk about a definition of a term. The idea that mankind can control the weather, or the magnetosphere, is the height of
arrogance,
because that is a ridiculous concept. If you understood anything about atmospheric physics, You would not leave comments on our channel suggesting that mankind is able to control the weather. That is a joke, and we will laugh you right out of the comments thread. Actually, we'll leave you in the comments thread, so please don't make a fool of yourself. Do not smite yourself by putting stupid comments in and demonstrating your lack of understanding of atmospheric physics. Let's talk about a little larger scale stuff. Check this out. You want to see an infrared light flash from Sagittarius A star, the core of our Milky Way galaxy? Well, here it is. Thanks to the Keck Observatory, noting this extremely bright infrared flash coming from the galactic core, Sagittarius A star. It's only 2.5 light hours. I'm sorry, the image took place over 2.5 hours. All the way back in May. I think this would have hit the news before now. Anyway, link to this article in the description below the video. So please click that, support the channel, and click this link. Now, they're not sure what caused it. Because astronomers do not understand what black holes are, as they call them black holes. Black holes are a function of Einsteinian math, not of actual observations. Indeed, black holes are math in search of observations. They behave like fountains, folks, not like vacuum cleaners. Keep in mind, there are not only attractive forces in our universe, but also repulsive forces. And the concept of a black hole is a repulsive idea, as it's not backed up by any real-world observations. And we are back to our whiteboard as we want to talk about z-fields again, just like we did yesterday. So, I'm going to draw the z-field on the bottom of the sun first. So here's the South Pole z-field. We're going to color it red. So the z-field comes out of the sun like this in a conical shape. There's always a coronal hole down there, folks, and there's always a coronal hole wind stream coming out of it. And this is similar to the relativistic jets that are produced in black holes. So let's conceptualize M87 here. What you're looking at, this is the z-field of M87. This accelerates particles, in this case hundreds of millions of light years out into the universe. Well, why does that matter? Well, that matters because things like planets and galaxies and indeed clouds form on ionization pathways. Let's just leave it there. There's a little food for thought from our viewers. Now, this M87, it also has a z-field that goes out this way. When you're looking straight down a z-field, we call that a blazar or a quasar, an active galactic nucleus. If you were looking at it, if there was a star right here, and you were looking straight down the z-field, it would look brighter because of all those particles and particle interactions and all kinds of synchrotron radiation and other things being focused by that field. If you were looking down it, you would just see a spiral, as there's a Birkeland current going both ways through those. And let's just leave it there and move on to another cosmology story. But first, if you want to follow the transients of Sagittarius A star, just go to the Neil Gorell's Swift Bat Observatory. That stands for Burst Alert Telescope. Now, these are not infrared. These are high-energy X-rays, folks. Here are the transients from Sagittarius A star. The bottom left is the daily. And so if we're looking at back in May, I really have no idea where it is on this graph. This is the Julian calendar, if you're wondering why the numbers look so weird. But if you want to follow Sagittarius A star, just go here, go to find and type in SGR space A. And there's only one list, Sagittarius A star, the core of the galaxy. Let's get a little closer to home, as NASA has closely measured a magnetohydrodynamic shockwave for the first time. Now, these shock waves reverberate across the solar system. Everybody knows that. That's the solar wind. Here's a little animation of what we saw. And we've got links to this article also. Things like magnetic disconnection and reconnection seem to be involved with the acceleration of things like the solar wind. And without getting too much into it and making the video way too long, we'll move on to talk about what the mission is that gathered the data. It's the magnetospheric multi-scale mission. Links to this Wikipedia article also. This was launched back in 2015 on March 13th. And it's a series of satellites that fly in a formation. I should say spacecraft, really. They fly in a formation in order to measure magnetohydrodynamic differences. If you want to visit the site directly, there it is, the magnetospheric multi-scale mission. Links to this also, as well as the data center. If you want to see what's going on right now, well, here's more real-time views of the magnetosphere. So you can check that out. That's the current situation. Shows you the location of the spacecraft and the estimated locations of magnetic field force lines. Another article here, this one on colorado.edu, a new timeline of Earth's cataclysmic past. You read this article, it's going to bring up visions of Velikovsky novels. Worlds in collision, planets on the move, outer planets in the inner solar system, etc. Interesting article. Is it completely correct? Does it totally explain things like the formation of our solar system? Well, absolutely not. And thanks for tuning into the Smash stream, folks. We're going to do a quick little bonus section here, 94 angstroms view of our local yellow dwarf, as it keeps getting obscured by things. Not sure what, but that is a funky image. Check that out. I don't know what the heck that is, or how we're able to see that, but not the rest of the solar disk. Interesting theories are welcome in the comments section. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. It's about that time to tell you to stare at the sun. Look up in the sky. Try to figure out what's going on. Visit the links below the video to help support our channel. Our main source of income is Patreon. Just because you're seeing ads does not mean YouTube pays us, as YouTube pays us nothing and demonetizes our videos on the regular basis. I guess it's really controversial to talk about science, folks, so if you want to see the videos continue, you're going to have to open up your moth-filled wallet and support the channel directly. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance, and may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.